Have you ever wondered if your spiritual life and your financial success could actually be connected? Well, that's the whole idea behind a framework known as biblical prosperity. And today we're going to break down the 5 core pillars that hold it all up. So let's just start with the big question right out of the gate. Is there a real, tangible connection between what you believe and what's in your bank account? According to the framework we're exploring, the answer is a huge yes. And it doesn't just say yes, it lays out a very specific roadmap for how it works. But before we get into the how-to, we've got to get on the same page about the what. This first part is all about defining what prosperity actually means in this context, because I promise you, it's probably a lot different than what you might be thinking.
See, this isn't just about stacking up cash. Not at all. We need to think bigger. This is a holistic, a whole life view of well-being. It's about your finances, sure, but it's also about your relationships, your physical health, and your mental and spiritual peace. It's the idea of being complete, of being truly whole.
This slide, I think, just nails the difference. On one hand, you've got the standard view of wealth, right? It's about accumulation, about hoarding assets for their own sake. But on the other hand, this framework presents wealth as a flow. It's a resource that's meant to move, to be used as a tool for a much greater purpose. It's a total shift in perspective. Okay, so now that we've got a handle on what the goal is, let's dive into the core of it all, the 5 pillars. The source material presents these as the 5 essential steps, the keys to unlocking that holistic prosperity we were just talking about. And here they are: giving, stewardship, faith, diligent work, and finally, wisdom. We're going to walk through each one of these step by step and see how they all lock together to form this complete system. So let's jump in with number 1. First up, we have the principle of giving. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Giving, that seems totally backward if we're talking about building wealth, right? But in this framework, it's actually seen as the non-negotiable starting point.
The central idea here is that giving isn't losing, it's planting. Think of it like a farmer sowing a seed. It's framed as an act of investment that's designed to kickstart a law of return, to open up what's described as a flow of blessings back into your life. And this quote just perfectly captures the mindset. It reframes giving from being just a financial transaction into an act of profound trust. It's about showing you believe in the source of your provision, wherever that may be. All right, let's move on to pillar number 2 and see how it builds on that foundation. Right after giving, we have the principle of stewardship. Okay, so this pillar is the really practical side of things. It's all about how you handle what you already have in your hands. You could almost call it a spiritual take on financial literacy, It's the nuts and bolts: budgeting, saving, staying away from crushing debt. The whole idea is that you're a manager of your resources, not necessarily the ultimate owner. I mean, this quote really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's a principle of responsibility. The underlying belief is that if you can prove you're trustworthy and smart with the little you have, you'll then be trusted with much more. All right, so we've covered an outward action, giving, and a practical skill, stewardship. Now pillar number 3 takes a turn inward. It's all about what's going on in your mind. So pillar 3, faith, is really positioned as the engine that powers this entire system. This is all about deliberately cultivating an abundance mindset instead of a scarcity mindset, a concept you hear a lot about these days. According to this source, faith is the actual catalyst that makes all the other principles come to life. Wow, this quote is such a powerful summary of the whole concept. It frames faith not as some kind of passive, wishful thinking, but as a truly active force. It's like a spiritual currency that gives you access to things that you can't see yet. So, if faith is the engine, then what's the fuel? Well, let's take a look at pillar number 4, the principle of diligent work. This pillar makes one thing crystal clear. This is not a passive sit on the couch and wait for it kind of philosophy. It absolutely demands action. Diligent work, and not just any work, but work done with excellence and integrity, is seen as completely essential. It's a direct rejection of any get-rich-quick thinking, favoring good old-fashioned, consistent, honorable effort. And this quote just elevates the whole idea of a job, doesn't it? It says your work isn't just for a paycheck. It's your platform. It's your chance to show what you stand for and, in this view, a primary channel through which blessings are actually supposed to flow. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important capstone pillar. Number 5 is the principle of wisdom.
Wisdom is really what holds all the other pillars together and makes them work. It's about being a lifelong learner, constantly studying, seeking out advice from smart people you trust, and, this is crucial, making your decisions based on timeless principles instead of just chasing short-term fads or panicking in the moment. This quote really just puts it all out there, doesn't it? In this framework, wisdom isn't just a nice to have, it's the ultimate asset. It's considered more valuable than gold or silver. It's the rudder that steers the whole ship and ensures all the other pillars are being used correctly. So we've walked through all 5 pillars: giving, stewardship, faith, work, and wisdom. Now let's try to boil this entire system down to its most essential core takeaway.
So what's the bottom line here? It's that these pillars aren't some a la carte menu where you can just pick and choose what you like. They're designed as a completely integrated system. The central idea is that true, holistic prosperity is simply the natural outcome when you get all 5 of these areas of your life aligned with these specific spiritual principles.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on, doesn't it? How does a framework like this, which is ancient and faith-based, challenge, or maybe even complement, our modern ideas about money and wealth management? That's definitely an interesting thought to take with you. Thanks for joining us for this one.